Blackened wings, they shone as night, risen up from ash and fright, seeking dawn amidst the blue, chasing dreams I once knew. Feathers charred by ancient fire, from the darkness they aspire. Silent whispers through the trees, guiding me with gentle breeze. White ravens soar into the sun, unfolding truth that's just begun. From shadows cold to blazing sky, we find our light as we fly high. Past is but a fleeting wish, echoes in the night's only. It's Brenda, Wolf, and Diane, so listen up if you can. Yeah, journey with them today as they help you find your way. Oh, mental wellness is the topic of the hour. Mental health and the power to tap into our alignments will lead to our refinements. Phoenix Talk, a show like you've never seen. Phoenix Talks, awareness that has never been. Phoenix Talks with Brenda, Wolf, and Diane. Phoenix Talks, so tune in if you can.
Welcome, everybody, to Phoenix Talks with Brenda Wolf and Diane. I am Brenda Wolf, and this is my lovely co-host, Diane.
Hi.
DiBiase. And we are coming to you live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you're watching the replay, give us a hashtag replay in the comments below. Let us know what you enjoyed about the show if you're watching the replay. If you're watching
Yes.
live, feel free to comment because we both can see the chat and we will both be able to comment on what you have to say. Speaking
Yes.
of what are we talking about today? It was your time. It was your turn.
Yes, we are talking about transitions. How do we get ourselves through life transitions? And that looks like a lot of different arms and legs. There's a lot of different life transitions that we need assistance with. And how do we get ourselves through them? Right now, I feel like the poster child for life transitions.
We both are in our own individual and unique ways.
Yes. Right now, I feel like I'm encompassing every possible life transition all at the same time.
So, one thing that when you presented the topic to me was you were talking about how when we make major life transitions, that there's going to be triggers that go along with that.
Sure.
And that was something that, as I look back, because I had a major life change, kind of like you, oh my God, 27 years ago, where I left everything I knew to start something, and I had literally sight unseen because I'd never set foot in the building that I was getting the job at.
Mm-hmm.
Left all of my family, left all of my friends. I had one move up with me that I practically begged to come with me. But there are a lot of similarities in my memory banks from what you're experiencing and what I experienced. Mm-hmm. So what triggers? Because you mentioned that specifically. I want to start there.
So when you're from experience and from what my clients have all told me about their major life transitions, the triggers seem to be their fears regarding the circumstances around the transition. Because usually a life transition is going to be like a new job, like you had mentioned. And the fears that might come up for that, like, I'm not good enough. What if I can't do this job? What if I can't stand this job? My entire life has changed and I don't like, I'm just using the job one because that was the
Right,
first one to
right,
come up.
absolutely.
What if things don't go as planned and I don't have the financial ability to get myself out of it? Like all the fears start coming up and you end up triggering yourself.
Oh yeah. Well, 85% of the time, we'll be a little bit lax with that because it's actually 100. But everybody still has those pointy fingers where the triggers are external. But 85% of the time, the things that trigger us is us.
Right. It's something new. And this is why I wanted to walk through it, because transitions, no matter what they look like, whether it's a new relationship, a new job, a new home, a new state, a new country, whatever, it's like hitting a do-over button. And then you have to start everything all over again, new location, new whatever, update social medias, updating this, updating that, whatever it is that is involved for you. So there's a lot at stake there.
Yeah.
And so it's understandable that your fears are going to creep all up in there and start showing up in different ways. And the little angel and devil thing, whatever, start to happen. I'm using that analogy because it's like, we're fine. No, this
No,
is
we're
going to
not.
go wrong and this is going to happen. And then you're going to have that problem. We told you not to do this.
Especially if the new venture, the new job is starting to act like a money pit.
Right. Right. And you
I
start
mean,
to
I
lose faith.
experienced that a couple years ago, and I'm still recovering from it.
Hmm.
It does take a while to, I mean, once things start to go wrong and you start to run out and you have to fix this, you have to learn that, you have to hire that person, and eventually you're just like, God, something else better not go wrong because it's just going to crumble down. And then you have to pull back from that fear so that doesn't take over.
Right.
And anybody who's been watching my coaching journey personally, they saw firsthand what that I was starting to allow that to do, and I was just getting deeper and deeper. And
Right. Right. And we're all human beings. So, our journey is going to be like this. Things are going to come back around for us to readdress at different times. So, so I guess what I wanted to talk about, like, regardless of the transition, it's the fears that are going to come up and trigger us
yeah,
of the things that can go wrong and did you make the right decision, and questioning, finding. Now you're going to start to look for things wrong. If you're going on a witch hunt, you're going to find a witch.
yep,
Stop looking. So let's start there. Let's start with the whole, there's a reason why you made the decisions you made to begin with. Stick to that.
mm-hmm.
Don't allow those little voices in your head that plant seeds of doubt and fear to take over. Acknowledge that they exist, but then do yourself a favor and give yourself an opportunity to discredit those thoughts. And that's an important piece of this whole transitional process, because the fears are going to come up. Learn how to discredit those negative thoughts that you really don't need messing
Right.
with your vibe.
They go try.
Yes.
They go try all the time.
So how did you discredit those thoughts that came up for you? And then I'll share mine.
Well, one thing, and I've been talking about this more and more recently, is that when you find yourself in an anxious state, which fear will create, especially if things start to look like they're not going the way that they should. And if you're just still and you're not doing anything and you're just allowing these anxieties and these fears, and you're just wrapping up in a cozy blanket and saying, okay, well, there's nothing that I can really do. You're lying to yourself firsthand, because putting yourself into action will stop the anxiety. And when I got to a point where, oh shit, I'm about to lose my home.
Right.
I had a friend kick me in the butt and say, I want you to download DoorDash and I want you to start doing that. And within and I just hustled and I just went. And within just a few weeks, I was able to get myself to a point where the anxiety and the fear wasn't ruling me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't letting it rule me.
So I want to hone in on something that you just said, because that's a very important piece with discrediting those negative voices that come up trying to plant seeds of doubt in your mind. And that is the taking action part. And I think that is something that we forget when we're ruminating and when we're living in that fear state. So one of the fastest ways to get yourself back to the focus on the why you did, why you made those choices to begin with, and why you're in your current situation, is to take actions towards that new future that you saw yourself experiencing.
Right.
You're not going to get yourself to complete the transition if you don't acclimate and integrate into that new transition. And that's in any direction.
I apologize for the background noise. I'm sitting right in front of the air conditioner.
It's okay. And I know Carrie's in and out because we're freezing up. Hi, Carrie.
I think it's her Wi-Fi on there, because
okay.
I have it in the corner of my eye and I haven't seen any freezing. So I think it might be her own Wi-Fi. If you're having issues on any of the platforms, check one of the other ones, either YouTube or Twitch, or if you're on either of those and those are freezing up, check out Facebook on mine.
Yeah.
So
thank you for that. So the thought of allowing those fears to take over is very strong when you're in a new environment and in a new situation, because we all want comfort and familiarity, and it's easier to discredit this new uncomfortable experience and go back to the familiar, even if it was unhealthy. So what we have to remind ourselves of is that we gave ourselves permission to trust ourselves, to take action towards a healthier version of us that can't survive wherever we just were. And so we have to allow ourselves a minute to plant the roots in there by taking actions and focusing all of our energy into pouring into these new avenues that we've given ourselves. So let's talk about the not enough or inadequacy fears that pop up, especially with new things.
Wow. I don't have enough in my prefrontal cortex for that one right now.
Well, really, when we're doing something new, it's almost like we're new babies again. We have to try something totally different, a different way. It's a different scenery. It's a different vibe. It's a different everything.
Yeah, so, if you're trying to do the same things in the same way in a different location as you did from where you came from, you're in a different culture. Doesn't matter where you move. You're in a different culture than what, and you, like Diane, if you move into a different state, you got nobody, unless you do. I mean, she's lucky she had somebody that went with her. So, it's like, okay, I'm not completely isolated. But it's one of those things. And, I'm an introvert. So going out and meeting new people outside of this kind of setting is uncomfortable for me, and I literally have to create space, create a window, and force myself to go and do. I'm not ashamed to admit that because it's just how I am.
Right.
And I also understand that I can write the story of how I am and how I choose not to be.
Right.
It's just a matter of doing it and getting out of that discomfort.
And I think the key is going to be trusting your own intuition and trusting your own judgment. You believe that you could smoothly do these transitions. So go ahead and give yourself a chance to do that. Because if you're allowing the fear of not being enough, just to tie it back into that, and inadequacies that you might think that you're having, those are just, you're blocking yourself from moving forward.
Right.
So you're just, like you were saying, taking the old baggage with you. This is like, any transition is like a clean slate. It's almost like hitting a do-over button. But if you're insisting on taking old ideas with you, you're not going to change anything at all. The idea of transitioning into some new environment, new relationship, new situation is so that you give yourself a do-over and do things very differently. So you
We have a
really do
comment
have to,
in the Twitch chat that I'm actually going to post on the screen.
yes,
Because I
be
really like
yourself in the
this.
discomfort. Yes.
Thank you, Algorithm,
Yes.
who's a member of the Rise community. Thank you so much for that
Yes.
comment, because absolutely, be yourself in the discomfort. Don't try and be somebody else.
Right.
Just
Right.
be you.
Just
And
be
one of
you.
the reasons that I brought up about my being an introvert is that was something that was learned. It's not something that I was born with, but learning that it takes something dramatic on my part to be noticed when I go out. This is a story. This isn't truth. This is a story. So let's be clear on that. But it's a programmed story that's difficult for me to go beyond. And it creates those feelings of inadequacy, which keeps me planted in this seat and not out attempting to go and meet more people. How's that for vulnerability? Need more?
Right.
But it's one of those things where if you learn something, especially at a younger age, that you have to be a certain way in order for people to make you feel like you're worthy or make you feel like you're enough, it's hard to get over. It's hard to move beyond. And you are the one that has to give yourself permission. You are the one who has to rewrite that story and do something different so that it doesn't affect you the way that it always
Right.
has.
You have to trust yourself. You just have to trust yourself. You have to practice trusting yourself.
Yeah.
It's really what it is. Any transition is an opportunity to practice what you've learned and to give you an opportunity to implement new thought patterns and behaviors and new actions and behaviors that are healthier towards yourself.
Yes.
It's really a matter of trusting yourself. I mean, even though it's a new state and I had someone, that someone was new too. So I'm still, you know what I mean? Like, it's newness in every direction. I can't approach the relationship in the same way. I can't approach, I'm moving off independently now, no day job, just me. So I'm having to transition into being my sole provider.
Right.
No extra safety net. I'm having to trust my intuition that I can take care of myself and that I can make the connections that I need in order to achieve the goals that I have, and I hyper focus on my next steps in order to get myself through it. I make connections with people in my industry with my level of understanding and vibration so that I can find circles that are authentic to me. Our comment here was be yourself in the discomfort could not be more accurate, because the reality is if you want to achieve your goals and get to where you need to go, you do need to be authentic. How are your weirdos supposed to find you?
Right.
you
And
know?
you could come across, and this is for all weirdos, because you could come across as the most normal person on the planet. You're still a weirdo because you're not like everybody else.
Yeah. I'm a weirdo.
I'm a creep too. So
Micah, when I first met you was at some spiritual gathering at some random person's house I don't know very well in
and I
New
haven't
York.
been back since. So the only reason that I went was so that I could meet Diane and we could be here.
Right,
See how
right.
things
And
work out?
it was in a setting where we were both authentic and we both had very pretty rocks to share
Yeah.
with each other. And we made a connection based on the pretty rocks.
Skulls.
Now, I like you, I'm an introvert to a certain extent, unless only an introvert when I'm not amongst people that I feel I can connect with
Hmm.
and resonate with, or maybe I don't feel aligned with. So I'm going to be more, um, keep my energy to myself. But I'm very extroverted around the right crowd. That's for sure.
Oh, same, same. I have so many nicknames, but one of my other nicknames over in the Rise radio community, when I hit that extrovert level, is Danger Papa. Just so that
Yes.
people have reference to what she's talking about.
Yeah.
And people have fun with Danger Papa. And it's like, wait, this is the side of me that everybody tells me to stifle and put away.
Don't pull it away.
Why am I
Keep it
putting
out.
it away if people are enjoying it? And these are the things, when you're making changes, when you're doing these life transitions, and it's such a broad topic. It's not just about changing city, changing relationship. There's so many different variables
Right.
that
There
it
are.
encompasses.
And we're going to be triggered in every single one of them because
Oh, yeah.
ultimately those new circumstances and situations are going to bring to the surface the things that we're still not comfortable with.
Now, yeah,
So,
like if you're in a new setting with a new group, and somebody makes an off comment, you don't really know them yet.
mhm.
Okay, you have that option. You can take offense to it because it reminds you of something that somebody once said to you that pissed you off. Or you can recognize that they're not mean girls, like the movie,
Mhm.
out to get you. Now, if somebody comes up to you and they're just plain cruel, that's a completely different story.
Mhm. Mhm.
But when it's looks like, smells like something that used to trigger you, expect this when you're making a change.
Mhm.
And it's
Right.
really difficult to do it. And people don't want to think, okay, there's a chance I'm going to meet people that are going to piss me off right away because I don't know them. We
Why
don't
are you
like to
getting
think
so
that
offended?
way, right? We don't like to think that way.
Right. And what if your definition of whatever that is very different from that person's definition of what it is that you took offense to? So the question really is in any new circumstance and during your transitions, why are you taking offense? Why are you not allowing yourself to step back and come from a space of learning?
Mhm.
Remember that. Return yourself to that space of learning. Ask for context. Ask for clarification. Ask for elaboration. There's nothing wrong with that.
And if they
And
give
that,
you, and if they give you a in response, move on.
yeah.
Because it's just going to go downhill from there.
Yes, and the Four Agreements. Yes, that was a great book. If you haven't read it, Paulo Coelho, I can't say the last name. I'm going to destroy it.
Don Miguel Ruiz.
Thank you. Forget it. I just botched it completely.
That's
I can't do.
okay.
It was a great book, and yes, don't take things personally. At the end of the day, nothing about your transition should put you in a place where you're taking things personally. You have to allow yourself time and space to learn the new circumstances, new people, new situations.
Right.
Ohio is not New Jersey. I
Oh,
have to learn what Ohio folks are like. you know.
Uh-huh.
It's different, and that's okay.
At
Things
least
are
they're
just
still
different.
northern. I mean, you could have made the transition south,
As I'm sure that's a whole different
and
animal right
and bless your heart, you didn't have to go through that.
there. Almost did. I tried Nashville, didn't work.
No.
But yeah. So,
You can take the girl out of the north, but you can't take the north out of the girl.
can't
Okay?
take the north out of the girl. Nope.
No.
Nope. That would have been a little more challenging since
Right.
I'm, into the metaphysical and spiritualist kind of world. So,
Depends on where you go, but that's
yeah,
another topic.
yeah.
Now, one thing just to make sure that we get to it before we start running out of time. When you are leaving a situation and you're having a life transition away from a dangerous, negative, or hurtful situation, which I will not reveal any details here, but an archetype of that I just recently went through. And as a result, I personally had some triggers come up as a result afterwards. Some things to work through, because although there was a negative situation that I was moving away from, I didn't go anywhere. It was up here. There were still some things that a situation had covered up that weren't dealt with. So that's one level of when you are getting away from a situation, the triggers that you're going to have to deal with and what to expect, because you're going to carry what you left with you, number one. And it's a sad fact, but you are, because you're going to have to heal those wounds
Mhm.
from that situation. And it's going to hurt. I'm sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. The hurt is part of the process, and that's okay. Because if you don't feel the pain, you're never going to get the gain.
Right.
It's You got to get through it to get to it. You got to feel it to heal it. Should I keep going with the t-shirt slogans?
I don't know, but maybe we should start an Etsy shop with
I,
Phoenix Talks T-shirt.
I already have something in the works.
Well, all right. We'll talk
but,
after the show.
but but the reality is you're going to have those fears pop on up for you. You're going to have those triggers pop on up for you every single time you transition into something different that is a big deal.
Right.
So for you in your circumstance, it was the removal of the presence of something that kept you in a bit of a fear state because it was literally dangerous.
Right.
And so now the new normal you have to get used to is allowing your nervous system to relax and knowing that you're safe.
Right.
That's going to bring up all the fears of things being what they used to be.
And a surprising tone or a surprising feeling. The lonelies kicked in a new way. And I'm like, what? Huh? Because there is that feeling of isolation that I tend to have to battle with, being an introvert and healing pain myself. And the reaching out and remembering I'm not alone.
Right.
And if you feel like you're alone, ask the people that are close to you. Tell them how you feel. Because
right.
you're going to recognize very quickly how not alone you are.
Right. Right. We're never alone. Sometimes isolation is good for us to understand ourselves when we need to be away from everyone's energy to have that kind of clarity. But we don't have to go through the transition alone.
Right. And thank
whatever
you,
that
algorithm. I
transition is.
appreciate the sentiment.
Yes. You are not alone. Thank you,
But,
Michael
you
Jackson.
know, I'm not, now I want it to be clear that I'm not saying this for sympathy, because I want people to be able to empathize with where we're coming from,
Mhm.
and be able to understand that these things are going to happen in some form of fashion.
Mhm.
We don't know exactly how they're going to manifest when we make these life transitions, whether it's moving from a positive to another potential positive, or it's moving away from a negative to a potential positive, or God forbid, moving from a negative to a new negative.
Yeah. Which happens also.
It
But
does.
it's but I'm going to put a big giant but in there. Usually, if
Usually.
we're on a healing journey, the new negative is a different looking negative because you learned the old lesson, but now this is a new version of it so that you can familiarize yourself with that new version of negative.
Yep.
And I don't like using the word negative because it's not a positive negative thing, it's just a vibrational thing. So lower frequency, it's a different version for you to acclimate yourself to understand that you don't like that either, so that you can continue to grow. It's not because you're not doing things right. So that, let's talk about that for a second, because that's a big one. When usually it's the transition ends up being not what you wanted it to be, and just a different version of what you were trying to get out of. Please don't focus on that. Please focus on the, okay, thanks for giving me the opportunity to see another version of what this looks like, so I can keep my eyes. I am now fully aware of it. I now get it. And I now know what to look for going forward with this version of it. And of
Algorithm has another
course,
winner. I'm going to put it on screen.
life experience shape our, yes. 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 Yeah. So the key is to catch yourself from going down any negative rabbit holes or lower vibrational rabbit holes, and to maintain that focus on who and what you're trying to become and be and do, etc., for yourself, and just keep focus on taking steps and actions towards those things, whilst quieting those voices by discrediting them, because you're focusing on the positive, focusing on what you're learning, focusing on what it is that you're receiving and doing. That doesn't mean things are not going to hurt.
Right.
You can feel that hurt, so you can analyze it and understand all the different faces of that hurt and all the different ways it showed up that you didn't recognize sooner, or ignored but knew they were there but didn't want to believe. So if nothing else, you solidify that you can trust your intuition, because it is trying to guide you. If you don't take your own advice, that's, you're a normal human being until you decide one day that you're always going to take your own advice.
Right.
So
Right.
it's
Why
just
didn't I
another
listen to
step.
myself? I was right. Now, I had an interesting epiphany. Instead of saying moving from a negative to a negative, lateral.
I don't even want to say lateral, because you know what? It shouldn't be lateral. If it's
No,
still
but I
lateral,
know
you're
that a
not
lot.
learning.
I know, but a lot of people that are going to watch this are going to want a different way to, be able to relate to it. So we're gonna have the high vibe, low vibe people. We're gonna have the negative, positive people, and then we're gonna have the people that want to
Yeah.
move in different frequencies and not straight across.
So
Because
so
I hear people in the back of my head. Why do I always keep making the same mistakes?
So I'm going to tell those people, because I like to use the when I talk to my clients, I like to talk about a spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay, let's throw something out there. Narcissism.
Must we?
There's a
Anyway,
spectrum. There is a spectrum for everything. So you've got the clueless ones who are just in survival mode and don't really mean any harm. They're just having those personality traits because they're trying to survive. And to the other side of the spectrum I mean, could be super severe on the sociopathic scale, perhaps borderline personality disorder with malignant intent. Like there's different degrees of um, narcissism where it's full blown personality disorder.
Yeah.
So, where in that spectrum did you move to learn about so that you could recognize it going forward and choose differently next time? That's really what it's about. Analysis of the fears and the circumstances so that you can assist yourself in focusing on what you learned so you can move forward and do things differently next time.
And we've talked before. He likes my coffee mug. And just in case you guys didn't see it, I am the boss. So
yes, you are.
But what was I going to say? We talked before about people making the same romantic decisions,
Mm-hmm.
where they are consistently attracted to the same archetype of person,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't understand why. Okay, what part of you needs that?
Yeah.
How do you transition your life? Okay, let's try and bring this into this conversation now. How do you transition your life into a new archetype of person? First, you decide what they look like. Decide what you are hoping their behavior is like. Decide what you hope to get from them. What do you want to give to them? Also, what kind of dynamic do you want? Write it down. Practical magic. It works.
Mm-hmm.
Worked for her.
Yeah, and you should write down what you want in a partner, because really what you're writing down is what your most valuable thing is, what's your most important things that you require in a relationship or from that other person. Right. So when you're transitioning into a new dynamic, all right, so what you're talking about is how do you get yourself to transition away from the same old.
Yeah.
It ultimately it's a choice. Learn what's not working by reflecting in an observatory manner for you to analyze the data that you received in that relationship so you can discern next time, this looks and smells a lot like that. Yep. Not the same, but it feels the same. I'm getting the same ick on the inside.
But if you look for a witch, you're going to find a witch.
Right.
Like we said earlier.
Right. So you have to make sure actions match words, because everyone can tell you anything that you want to hear, but that doesn't mean that they're consistent. It doesn't mean that their behaviors match what their words are saying.
Right.
It doesn't mean that their intentions match what their words are saying. So you have to practice trusting yourself. You have to practice speaking your truth. You have to practice being your authentic self. You have to practice setting boundaries. You have to practice stating your needs, all in a very healthy way and all in a manner in which will help you discern if you're making a mistake again based on that person's response and reaction. Right. Now, we're all human beings and we're all going to trigger and we're all going to feel a certain kind of way. But how is that person responding to you going forward? Are they giving you a word salad, deflecting and blaming, defensiveness? What's happening? And is that consistent? Is that what's maintained? Or after having a discussion with you, are they open to evolving past and being and showing up differently for you? Right. And is that consistent? Does that stick? So it's not like a snap of the finger a lot of this stuff just has to unfold in your experience, but you've
Yeah.
got to keep your eyes and ears and senses wide open. Don't lie to yourself. You mentioned earlier on being honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself first, or none of this is going to work.
Yep. Yep.
Because you can sugarcoat anything at any time for any reason.
And if you don't feel safe with you, do you honestly think that you will feel safe with someone else in a new job,
Mm-hmm.
in a new state?
Mm-hmm.
Any of the above, all of the above.
Right.
If you do not feel safe with yourself,
Yeah.
you don't trust yourself.
Right. And no, it's not your responsibility to fix others.
Nope.
Yeah. And you do have to trust yourself. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy or comfortable. Sometimes it's very uncomfortable. The transitions are incredibly uncomfortable. That's fine because that's part of the process. The point is for you to be brave and courageous and do the things whilst you're doing the things that are very uncomfortable and that might trigger you and that you'll have to process and that might be painful because it might make you self-reflect in a different way. You still have to do all of those things in order for you to get yourself to a different state of being with different surroundings.
Yep.
Be fearless. Yeah.
And something for you guys to really consider, because it was mentioned in the chat, we can only fix ourselves. What if I told you you weren't actually broken?
We can upgrade ourselves when we learn new information.
Yep. I mean, when you take a finished puzzle, say you're ready to put it away, or you bump the table, flip over the table, whatever the case is, but the puzzle comes apart. Is it broken?
Yeah.
Are the pieces broken?
We're never really broken. What we
just might not
are,
feel whole.
we become dysregulated.
Yeah.
So the more solid we become within ourselves and the more we trust ourselves, the more we practice the things, the more we don't become dysregulated.
Right. And you know, they make that wonderful glue for puzzles, where if you want to display it and you don't want to ever take it apart, you just put a little glue on the edge and attach it. And when you start giving yourself permission to make these changes and come into awareness of yourself, trusting yourself, becomes that glue.
Mm-hmm.
The more you do it, the more you trust yourself, the more you honor yourself.
That glue is self-love.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Self-love, self-worth.
Yeah. And remember, with every transition and that do-over button that you gave yourself, it's an opportunity for you to put the puzzle pieces where you decide they need to be for you.
Mm-hmm.
There's no rules. There's no things need to be a certain way. You make it up. This is your experience. You're the boss. Yes.
I got that as a, you go to the, I can't remember the name of the place, where you play games and you get tokens or tickets that you can redeem in this giant shop.
I know what place you're talking about, but we're not going to endorse.
I won't endorse them, but at the end of the day, I saw this and I was like, I'm getting that mug.
I love it. That's great. Yes, the arcade.
Yes, algorithm. It is an arcade, but a specific one.
We'll just call it
and
the
not
arcade.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Like that.
No, not that one. This is where adults can be adults. But anyway, I digress.
Yes. Yeah.
But you are the boss of you. You all are.
I think we covered a lot of meat and potatoes too.
Oh yeah. This is one we could just. Oh my God, I'm loving this conversation so much. I don't want it to end.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
But
We're
you
doing
guys, when you make these decisions to transition the life that you have known into something else, the idea is easy.
yeah. It's the taking actions and following through part that's kind of, that's where you got to place your trust in yourself
Yeah.
and just believe that you are capable of what your intuition led you to.
And it could be little bitty potholes that you go over. Could be huge speed bumps that you have to, pull the car down to 2 miles an hour so that you don't break the frame.
Hmm. Yeah.
But you'll get to where you're going. Just watch your speed.
Mhm.
There's no rush. Rushing to get things done is a societally imposed myth.
Yeah. And I see good souls will always find a way in the chaos. So I'm going to take that and just add, when you become solid with yourself, the chaos can happen around you and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't phase you. It doesn't bother you. You can navigate your way and lead the way out of chaos for anyone who wants to follow you, because you're solid, because you trust yourself and you know yourself so well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, we did a
Okay,
lot.
now I feel full.
Thank you.
She's like,
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
hungry. I
you.
want to go. Get me off this call. I want to go.
No, I'm good. I ate before we popped on. I might want to sleep though.
Oh my God.
Speaking of doing the things, I am working on my healingrose.org website,
Wonderful.
where I'll have my services listed. I'm a work in progress because I will be ordained Reverend Diane on May 20th this month. So you'll know because we'll have a live the day after my ordination.
It won't be an ordinary show.
No, no,
I couldn't
no,
resist.
no,
I'm sorry.
no, it won't. It certainly, and that was beautiful. I have this cartoon character in my mind called the Rev, like a comic strip superhero kind of thing. But that's the fun games I play in my own head. That lives in here.
And that's healthy. It actually is. That's completely healthy. Keep the
Mhm.
imagination alive, because that will help to get through these life transitions
Yeah.
as they come in
It's
with all the
funny. I mean,
triggers.
that's another thing. I'm gonna have to transition into this title thing that happens with it, and like changing my entire experience, because you know it
Yeah.
it's kind of who you are. It's almost like a calling, if you will. So
Yes, and I believe this is Algorithm's first full show with us. At the end, we always do a shameless promotion
shameless promotion time.
for ourselves. So you can, I know that she's over on help.me/DianeRDibiase.
Yeah, it's now going to be healingrose.org because that's directly tied into that.
Wonderful.
Yep. Yep. And of course Facebook and Instagram.
Yep. And links will be in the description below on YouTube. So
Yeah.
I think they're already there now. I'm not exactly certain. I try and set up things ahead of time now, so I don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it. But I'm cooking up something for Evolve and Emerge. Inspiration came in today. I'm not going to reveal what it is, but I will give you a teaser that it's going to be as easy as 1, 2, 3. So be on the lookout for that particular phrase in the very near future, because it has to do with my readings. And
Wonderful.
weekend is going to be the next Risers in Flight call, and it will be Sunday at 1 p.m. You can only attend the call if you are a member of Evolve and Emerge, which is over on Facebook. That link is in the description below. So click on that. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, do that right now so that you can catch this live again once we come back next week with a topic I haven't come up with yet.
I was going to say, your turn, tag you're it.
No, I'm kind of hearing third agreement. So that might be our next topic of don't take things personally, since that is kind of flooding in my head right now.
I love that topic.
So watch out for the promo. There'll be more about that soon, but we'll be back next Wednesday, same time, same channel. Be sure to click that like button so that I know who's loving this show and watching it, because I don't know who. It's kind of like that. Hey, your bill was cut in half, and it's twice that I don't have to pay. My weird came out. Danger Papa. Okay, before I get any weirder, we're going to close up, and you guys have a wonderful night. Be sure to love yourselves. We love you.
Thank you.
I love you.
We love you.
I'm so glad that you tuned in to us. And I'm going to take us out with my own show, my own song.
Woohoo!
It's Diane and I, so listen up if you can. Yeah, journey with them today as they help you find your way. Oh, mental wellness is the topic of the hour. Mental health and the power to tap into our alignments will lead to our refinements. Phoenix Talk, a show like you've never seen. Phoenix Talk, awareness that has never been. Phoenix Talk with Brenda Wolf and Diane.